What up guys, Gozen here for AnimeUproar, and today we're going to be talking about the top 10 overpowered characters in the world of the 7 Deadly Sins. Make sure you like and subscribe for more 7 Deadly Sins videos. For daily 7 Deadly Sins posts and conversations, be sure to follow us on Instagram at AnimeUproar. Just so you know, there will most definitely be manga spoilers in this video, and you'll notice that I use the word overpowered rather than strongest. I'm not simply going to be looking at the strongest characters currently in the manga. In that case, Escanor wouldn't even make the cut since he doesn't have the power Sunshine anymore. And that wouldn't be right since we all know that Lord Escanor was presented as an overpowered character throughout the series. So what I'm doing in this video, rather than just looking at current strength, is counting down the characters that were presented as the most OP in the manga so far, even if the characters aren't as overpowered anymore in the manga. Obviously, I'm gonna be presenting my opinion, but if you disagree or think I should have included another overpowered character, feel free to let me know in the comments. Now, without further ado, let's jump into it. First up, in 10th place, we have Zeldris. From the beginning, back when the 10 Commandments were introduced in chapter 109, Zeldris was singled out as someone special. Near the end of the chapter, we see Meliodas trembling and sweating. Clearly worried, he says, "They're awake." And we jump to a shot of Zeldris, suggesting that even among the commandments, he is definitely a commandment to worry about. He is also the one leading them and giving orders, which further suggests his great power. Way later, we get to see Zeldris' original power in action, Ominous Nebula, and it is insanely powerful. But that's not all. He matches his original power, which makes him impervious to physical attacks, with the power he borrowed from the Demon King, which makes him impervious to all magic attacks. Ludosha, who is said to have a combat class of 201,000 at this point, is completely powerless against Zeldris' attack. It just keeps sucking him in and damaging him, not allowing him to get anywhere close to Zeldris. Although Escanor in the one mode eventually overpowers Zeldris, as does Mael with Sunshine, and finally the Demon King takes his magic resistance back, the fact that Zeldris kept fighting tough battle after tough battle and getting back up also speaks to his strength. His original power and the magic resistance he borrowed from the Demon King make for one of the most OP combinations in the show, and it wouldn't have been beaten at that point if it didn't happen to be noon or if Chandler was quicker in blocking out the sun. In 9th place, we have Merlin. You can bet that any character called Merlin from a series based on Arthurian legend will be OP AF, and she definitely is. One of the most popular ways to introduce an overpowered character is to have them show up and easily defeat another character that was previously presented as being overpowered. And that is the way Merlin is introduced. Vivian was introduced as the Kingdom of Leonis' greatest mage. The rest of the Sins could not keep up with her and her magic at all. That is, until Merlin shows up. Before even showing herself, Merlin gets Vivian to beg her to stop torturing her through teleportation magic. Although Vivian is the strongest mage in the kingdom, Meliodas introduces Merlin as Britannia's strongest mage. We also find out that Vivian was her pupil. After embarrassingly overpowering Vivian, Merlin goes on to simply erase Vivian's perfect cube, a spell that no one was supposed to be able to break through, even if they combined their powers. Vivian says that Merlin is cheating, and she is so overpowered that it does feel that way at times. Her original magic Infinity can stop time and keep a spell going indefinitely, unless she decides to stop it. She stopped her own aging, pretty much allowing her to live forever. If anything ever threatens her body, she can escape into her sacred treasure, the Morning Star Aldan. She knows more magic spells than probably anyone in the show. She tricked the godlike figures, the Demon King and the Supreme Deity. The Demon King gave her detailed information on all the secrets and mysteries of the underworld and divine protection that could defend against the brainwashing of the goddesses, and the Supreme Deity gave her divine protection able to nullify any and all manner of dark curses and commandments. Both wanted her to join their side, but she managed to take the gifts from both and safely escape without joining either side. Despite the fact that her highest recorded combat class was 4,710, she was able to easily defeat opponents with much higher combat classes like Grey Road. She even managed to overpower Chandler and Cusack at the same time, who had a combined power level of 341,000. Unfortunately, the memories of Estarossa being Mael returned and distracted Merlin long enough for Chandler and Cusack to fuse back into the original demon, who was too strong for Merlin to deal with. Even so, Merlin has proven time and time again that she deserves to be called overpowered. In 8th place, we got the pinnacle of the human race, the one who stands atop all clans, Lord Escanor. Can I get a hashtag praise the sun in the comments? Escanor was extremely OP. Nakaba revealed in an interview back before he revealed Merlin and Escanor that the other two sins had yet to show up because they were strong. He wanted to save the more overpowered characters for later, thus suggesting that Escanor, who he saved for last, was the most overpowered. And he definitely was at the time of his introduction. While the 7 deadly sins had trouble keeping up with the weakest of the 10 commandments in the beginning, like Galand, Escanor was able to effortlessly defeat him. In fact, he didn't have to do much. Galand, the commandment that was giving the other sins serious trouble up to this point without even using his critical over mode, lost to Escanor because he got scared. He wasn't just overpowered by Escanor, he was so outmatched that he tried to run away in fear and turned to stone because of his own commandment. Then Melascula tries to eat Escanor's soul, and it simply burns her from the inside. Escanor for a long time goes from one impressive victory to the next. He easily defeats Estarossa, one of the strongest commandments, who had previously managed to defeat Meliodas. In his The One form, where he becomes the invincible incarnation of power for 1 minute when the sun is at its peak, he is able to defeat Meliodas in assault mode with nothing more than the swipe of his hand. This is supposedly how strong Meliodas was when he was the leader of the 10 commandments, the version that all of the other commandments feared, and yet the One is able to take him out of commission with a swipe of his hand. Later, the One is able to stop Zeldris' near invincible Ominous Nebula attack with a karate chop. He is about to finish Zeldris off, but unfortunately for Escanor, Chandler blocks out the sun and Escanor reverts back to his weak nighttime form. Nevertheless, it is important to remember that the One has never been defeated in battle to date. For all these reasons, Escanor, no matter what happens in the future, deserves to be remembered as one of the most OP characters ever. Next up, in 7th place, we have the original demon, the true form of Cusack and Chandler. As I mentioned previously, Merlin, despite how OP she was, accepted the fact that she was no match for the original demon when she saw him. In fact, the first thing Merlin says when she sees the original demon is that they've lost all chance of victory. Although we've been doing 7 Deadly Sins content for a long time on this channel, personally, my first 7 Deadly Sins video was about the original demon. When I read that chapter, I was so hyped that I just had to do a video on him, which speaks to how well Nakaba introduced him into the story. When you get one of the most overpowered characters in the show, Merlin herself, saying that she's got no chance of victory against an opponent, not even a 1% chance, but no chance, you know that that opponent is gonna be OPAF. This being is the original fusion of two of the strongest demons in history, and he was so strong that he even tried to rebel against the Demon King at one point. He toys around with Escanor and is completely unimpressed with him. Not only that, the more damage he takes, the greater his power becomes because of his original power crisis. However, as we know, OP characters are constantly used to establish the overpoweredness of another character, and eventually the original demon serves to show how strong Mael has become after getting Sunshine back. Mael finishes him off with one attack, but keep in mind the original demon's body was breaking down and welcoming its imminent destruction the whole time he was fighting. Despite being used as a guinea pig to show off Mael's new/old power, the original demon is one of my favorite antagonists in the show, and the way Nakaba presented his overpoweredness made those chapters that featured him some of the most hyped chapters in the entire series. In 6th place, we have King with full-grown wings. King was always an impressive character. Even back when Meliodas, Diane, and Bon were struggling to beat Gilla, King could easily overpower her. He was presented as OP from the beginning. However, after he gets his full-grown wings, he is on another level of overpoweredness altogether. Diane, King, and Gother could do nothing against the Mael, who had absorbed 4 commandments. Even a combined attack from all 3 proved fruitless. Mael is said to be over a power level of 200,000 at this point. Yet, after he gets his full-grown wings, King effortlessly overpowers him. Not only does King become the strongest fairy king in history, he also becomes one of the strongest characters in the series. Not only are all of his sacred treasures' different forms greatly enhanced, he can now use multiple spirit spears at the same time. We see him at one point using as many as 4 spirit spears at the same time. As if this wasn't impressive enough, he is able to go from this fight to almost finishing off the original demon from a distance. With full-grown wings, King can fight with Chastiful from a very large distance. But this is not him at full power. The drawbacks are A, he is not used to fighting from a distance, B, he can only use one Spirit Spear from a distance, and C, fighting from a distance drains a lot of magic power very quickly. With all these drawbacks, King is still strong enough to almost finish off the original demon. He uses the Spirit Spear's 4th form Sunflower to launch an OP solar beam at the original demon, but Zeldris steps in and cancels it out, using the power he borrowed from the Demon King. He clearly felt the need to step in, suggesting that King's attack would have done serious damage to the original demon. Then, the Fairy King continues to overpower Zeldris while he fights him with one Spirit Spear from a long distance. King is no match for the Demon King when he shows up, but it is also important to note that at this point, he has run out of magic power, so he's far from being at his strongest. The truth is, we've never seen King go all out against an opponent. With a close opponent and a full tank of magic, King has to be even more overpowered than we've seen so far, and that's saying a lot, because what we've seen so far has already been very impressive. Next, in 5th place, we have Mael with Sunshine. After Mael gets Sunshine, he takes out the original demon with one attack. As if that wasn't impressive enough, he goes on to stop Zeldris' OP attack Ominous Nebula, like Escanor did, except Mael has an even easier time doing it. Instead of needing to use a karate chop like the one did, Mael's proximity alone is enough to stop the attack and melt Zeldris' sword. Keep in mind, this is the same sword that could block the one's karate chop and stay intact, and this isn't even Mael in the one mode. This is an afternoon Mael, and he's still this much stronger than the one, although he's no match for the Demon King. As with Harlequin, we haven't seen him at his strongest. We know that Escanor's the one drastically increased his power, so it would make sense that Mael's the one form would drastically increase his own. And considering that he is already stronger than Escanor's the one before entering that form, we can barely imagine how OP Mael can potentially become for that 1 minute of the day when the sun is at its peak. I really hope we get to see Mael in the one mode before the series finishes. It would no doubt be one of the most overpowered moments in the series. Next, we have Bon after Purgatory. While King and Mael couldn't make the Demon King break a sweat, Bon is able to surprise him and wipe that smug smile off his face. Bon has spent the equivalent of over 1,000 years in Purgatory, since 1 minute in the outside world is about 1 year in Purgatory. I've compared Purgatory to a super extreme hyperbolic time chamber. Not only is a minute on the outside a year in Purgatory, but the conditions in Purgatory are unbelievably harsh. The conditions would have killed Bon if he wasn't immortal. His body was constantly being burned, frozen, and poisoned, but eventually it adjusted to the harsh conditions of Purgatory. Thus, by the time he returned to the human realm, his body was way stronger and its tolerance had greatly increased. Before, using Snatch to borrow about half of Galan's power left him immobile, but after he has increased his body's tolerance so much, he can probably steal a huge amount of power from a strong opponent and use it to fight for an extended period of time. Merlin, King with full-grown wings, and Mael with Sunshine, all OP characters, could do nothing against the Demon King, and yet Bon, as they noticed, was able to go blow for blow with him. He is able to keep up with a character that was presented as a god in the story, which is just insane, especially when you consider that Bon was one of the weaker characters in the series for a long time before he returned from Purgatory and got his huge power boost. Ironically, although he's given away his immortality, Bon is currently more OP than he's ever been. Next, we have a tie between 2nd and 3rd place. It's a tie between the Demon King and the Supreme Deity. I will talk more about the Demon King since we've seen him in action more than we've seen the Supreme Deity in action. However, the Supreme Deity is always presented as being equal to the Demon King in power. Neither one was strong enough to overpower the other during the Holy War, so it's only fair that I put the Supreme Deity this high up on the list. The Demon King and Supreme Deity were strong enough to completely destroy the city of Belialuin and curse Meliodas and Elizabeth. They were able to overcome the rules of life and death when they cursed Elizabeth with endless reincarnations and Meliodas with his own version of immortality. According to Meliodas, both he and Elizabeth could do nothing in the face of their gods and their overwhelming power. Both the Demon King and Supreme Deity were so strong that they each split their power. The Demon King split his power in the form of the 10 Commandments, and the Supreme Deity split her her power in the form of 4 graces that she gave to the 4 archangels. Think about how strong Sunshine makes Escanor and Mael, and then think about the fact that that's only one part of her own true power. If that's not overpowered, I don't know what is. And as we've seen with the Demon King, he has so far been able to take on all of the characters previously mentioned in this list, and that's before he's even reconnected with the body he's left in Purgatory, which might well contain much more of his power. Even in an imperfect form, with Meliodas battling him on the inside, he is able to take on Bond, Zeldris, and all of the other OP individuals present for an extended period of time, and seemingly maintain the upper hand. However, as we've seen in chapter 305, after Meliodas beats him on the inside, the combined power of the sins is enough to stop the weakened Demon King and bring Meliodas back. The Demon King's ability, the Ruler, is also OP. Any attacks and weakening maneuvers made against him turn into healing and strengthening ones instead. This ability makes him near invincible, but Bond's new ability to give power, which ends up hurting the Demon King instead, forces him to deactivate this ability in Purgatory. The Demon King also spent the equivalent of over 1.5 billion years in Purgatory, and he was already older when he entered, so you can bet he's lived a long life, even though the average lifespan of a demon is about 1,000 years. It is possible that he used some power similar to the one he used on Meliodas to ensure his own immortality, since he's definitely lived a lot longer than any other demon we know of. He can clearly take over other people's bodies as well, like Meliodas' youthful body, so chances are, like Merlin, he could just go on living forever. It is also possible that we have yet to see the Demon King's full power, which we might see if his 10 commandments reconnect with his real body in Purgatory. At the same time, we have reason to believe that the Supreme Deity has just as many impressive abilities and powers that could match that of the Demon King. However, there is one character who has recently revealed himself to be even more OP. Before we get to the most OP character in the 7 Deadly Sins, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to 2 OP characters whose overpoweredness was highlighted in the 7 Deadly Sins movie, Prisoners of the Sky. This OP list is going off of what we've seen in the main manga series so far, but it is worth mentioning that the Indura Baruja and Hawk's mom proved to be very OP in the Prisoners of the Sky film. It took the combined efforts of the 7 Deadly Sins and the Celestials to defeat the Indura, and Hawk's mom was revealed to be the Mother of Chaos, and not only tackles the Indura, but also absorbs one of his massive attacks and sends it flying back. Apparently, Hawk's mom possesses so much darkness that she was feared by the Demon Clan, and so much light that she was revered by the Goddess Clan. Definitely sounds like an OP character, but we haven't seen enough of her in action in the main story to officially put her on this list. So I just wanted to give her the honorary mention she clearly deserves. Now then, off to the number 1 most OP character in the 7 Deadly Sins, Meliodas. That's right, the man who at one point could do nothing against the Demon King and the Supreme Deity, but a lot has changed since then. Meliodas has awakened his original power that seems to be tied to him being the destroyer or the source of destruction, as the Demon King put it. Not only has Meliodas been able to stand up to the Demon King since he's awakened his true power, he has been able to absolutely wreck him during each encounter. In Purgatory, he took off the Demon King's entire arm using his power, and the Demon King couldn't do anything to stop him. All he could do was panic and scream after him. Inside Meliodas' body, Meliodas' emotions easily overpowered the Demon King. It seems that he's combined his insane original power with King's condensed power, and that's allowed him to destroy the Demon King's sword and body like it was nothing. The Demon King, once presented as a god, seems completely powerless against Meliodas, who may even go on to absorb the power of the 10 commandments since they were in his body already. This would add even more power to his already insane power level. He is so powerful now that the Demon King says he will only be able to stay in the mortal plane for about a day. I have plenty of videos you can check out on this channel that break down exactly how OP Meliodas is, but for the purposes of this video, I think you get the point. He has been able to completely overpower a character that was previously presented as a god, and he was able to do it multiple times and relatively easily. I truly can't see anyone else putting up a serious fight against Meliodas at this point. He is just too overpowered. And that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to smash that like button to let me know. If you haven't, be sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you don't miss any new 7 Deadly Sins videos. For daily 7 Deadly Sins content, make sure to follow us on Instagram at AnimeUproar AnimeUproar. Thank you as always to our patrons, especially to our pro tier patrons Keelan and Gilgamesh, and to our the 1 tier patrons, the ones who stand atop all clans, Lil Lady KD, Maddie Mac, and Ace. Thank you so much. If you want to support more content like this, you can do so for as little as $1 a month, and then your name will appear in future videos alongside these amazing people right here. You will also get access to the patron-only VIP Discord, so definitely consider supporting our content over on Patreon. Thanks again, and until next time, see ya, Space Cowboys.